Give me a sound. Ah! That absolutely perfect for getting levels.
Yeah, well, you asked me to give you a sound, and that's what you get. You get what you ask for.
One ping only.
Ping.
What are they playing at? Alright. I gotta go down a bit, I think.
Right.
There we go. You ready?
No, that's the wrong Planet of the Apes. That's Burton. We're not watching Burton tonight.
No, we're not watching Burton tonight.
No.
Sounds like a late night television show. Hello and welcome to Burton tonight.
It's Bert. We're thinking of Bert. Bert Newton.
Oh no. 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 Alright. Are you ready now?
Sure.
Excellent.
Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
And what have you been up to in this omnibus edition?
I got my eyes checked and they're as bad as ever.
But they're also as good as ever.
Yep, so nothing really going on there.
No change is good news.
Some minutes before I got my eyes checked, I put in our ballots.
Yep.
So those are in now.
No changing your mind now.
No. Turnout numbers, based on what's come in so far, are looking weak, but there's still a couple of weeks left until that closes, so...
I was curious as to whether they would be announcing whether they're coming in on...
Oh yeah, they've got daily numbers up on the TEC's website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say weak, what are we looking at numbers-wise so far?
At the moment, it's a little over 30%.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually higher than I was expecting. I mean, they're not going to get the same results as the Glenorchy City Council one.
No, because that was in conjunction with a compulsory election.
Yeah, 30%. We'll see how we go.
And the Tour de France was happening.
It was.
And it isn't now.
No more men in Lycra until the Olympics.
Things were looking unsure at the end of week 1, and then they were looking fairly more certain at the end of week 2, and by the middle of week 3, everything was basically sealed up, and that was the end of it.
The only thing that was certain was that there would be some kind of result.
Yep.
And that was confirmed by the end of the Tour de France.
It sure was.
Yep.
There
was a result. Good. Anything else?
No.
Come on, it's been 2 weeks.
No, and the Tour de France was basically taking up my entire brain space as far as things that are worth talking about.
Keeping in mind that here in Australia, the Tour de France basically ended each night at about 1:30ish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the last night at about 4:30ish. But, that's all right.
Everyone went a little nocturnal in the house. Fortunately, it was a school holiday break, so that worked in quite well. I caught snippets of it, but I wasn't watching. But
now I'm thinking about the Olympics, which, rather inconveniently, start just a couple of days away from now.
And we're probably looking at roughly the same time frame-ish things. Yeah.
Except for the ceremonies, which will run well into the morning.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast today about a couple of obscure facts about the Olympics, and one of them was concerning the opening ceremony for Seoul in 1988. Was it 88? Yes, it was 88. where they released a whole heap of doves. And then a whole bunch of torchbearers came to light the cauldron, and all the doves had landed on the cauldron.
Yep.
And the torchbearers weren't given any instruction as to what to do if said thing happened, because it wasn't supposed to happen. And so, yes, it got a bit toasty, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And since then, unofficially or officially, there have not been any major dove flyings in the opening ceremonies. Plenty of stylistically dance movie type things and video montages, but yes.
Well, speaking of dancers, some of the dancers in this year's opening ceremony have threatened to go on strike.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. And I believe breakdancing, just to segue into that, is in the Olympics this year.
Sure is.
Well, so striking dancers and very striking dancers.
There are increasingly many subjective sports.
Well, no, I mean, that was the other interesting thing about this podcast. It mentioned some of the very early sports that were involved, one of which was firefighting.
Right.
Yes. They would set a house on fire and the teams would see how quickly they could put the fire out and rescue a dummy and things like that. And an aquatic sport that involved diving under boats and then climbing over boats and then diving back under boats. And cannon firing.
Yep.
So we won't be having any of that this year.
No.
But we will be having striking dancers and very striking dancers.
Yep.
All right.
Yep, and I'll be up until, 7:30 apparently.
That's going to be pleasant for our dear listener. The horse bray, Thomas's horse bray.
Oh, don't get me started on equestrian events. How?
Nay.
How in 2024 are we still doing equestrian events? I don't...
Oh, one could argue, how do we have boxing?
Well, at least they're humans and they can consent to the boxing.
Fair enough. I just can't wait for the underwater basket weaving. That'll be good. All right, anything else you've been up to?
No. What about you?
Well, I went off to a exotic island.
You did?
Yeah, which is why we didn't have an episode last week. I went for lots of walks and took lots of photographs and had some good chats with a good friend of mine and tried to learn how to play some games and had a panic attack in doing so for one of them. Yep. It's interesting. The last time I had a major panic attack trying to learn to play a game was Rising Sun, I think it was called.
Yeah,
the
complicated, war-ish game.
And it suddenly felt like the entire instructions were in Japanese. And, well, it just so happens that this game that I just went into a mini spin was Japanese themed as well.
Yep.
So I'm just hoping that next time I go to play Tsuro, as I try to learn how to play it again, I won't have those problems.
Tsuro's not that hard.
Well, I mean, that was the interesting thing. Supposedly this game that I had a meltdown with is meant to be quite simple. But I think it's one of those ones that have the cliched minutes to learn, years to master, or eons to master. Anyway, that happened. And closer to recording, I went for a walk today, and I even went for a swim. Keeping in mind that we are in the middle of winter here in Australia, and it was cold. It was very cold. But the actual day itself was quite nice. It got up to 18 degrees Celsius. It was pleasant. And I got to this particular little beach and I went for a swim. I'm going to have to edit out all your throat gurgles.
Well, that's why you have 2 tracks.
It is. But they're so loud that I'm going to have it coming through my microphone as well.
I don't think they're quite that loud.
Oh, dear. Thomas, we have a film to watch.
We do.
Let's not gurgle any further. We shall get straight into
no guarantees there.
Gurgle no more. We have a film to watch. What are we watching today?
We are watching the 1968 Planet of the Apes And not the 2001 Planet of the Apes.
Now, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was doing the dishes this morning and I suddenly thought, oh, how long is Planet of the Apes? So I asked the Google Assistant what the running time for Planet of the Apes was, and it promptly insisted on telling me what the running time for the most recent, what is it?
Kingdom of
the Planet of the Apes. And I said, no, I don't want to know that. And so I tried manually Googling it, and it instantly decided, oh, I know better than you. You're really wanting to know the runtime of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. No, I don't. And yes, it was being obstinate, and I had to look elsewhere to find that out. Isn't that a fascinating story, dear listener?
Yeah.
Would you tell our dear listener what Planet of the Apes, the 1968 version, is all about, according to, I don't know, what are you reading the back? Are you reading the back?
I'm reading it off Disney Plus.
Oh, off Disney Plus,
yeah.
The shortened, expurgated version.
A US spaceship lands on a desolate planet, stranding the spacemen in a world dominated by apes.
Good.
That's all you need to know, isn't it?
That's succinct. Good. Thomas is going to not open any cases because we're watching it on Disney Plus. We're going to wind up the set-top box. We're going to watch it, and then we're going to come back, and we shall catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B, which is secretly side A.
Spoilers. Spoilers, you mongrel.
We spoiled it at the end of the last episode, didn't we?
Darn you all to heck. Yes. All right. Roll the tape. So what did you think?
It is all right. It's a little slow in play. The bits where it is at its fastest is where it is slowest. The bits where it desperately wants to be an action movie for a few minutes, those are the slowest bits of the film.
Are they?
Because they just keep going.
Uh-huh. I've got in my notes, I had a friend at the place I used to work at who, when the Lord of the Rings trilogy came out in installments, I asked him whether he'd gone to see Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and he said, no, it's a walking movie. Don't like walking movies. And he elaborated on what he was saying, that it's this trek, and the distance between point A and point B is very long, and this film is showing that journey. And I was thinking, especially at the beginning, that's when that original memory popped up. But it's really a walkie-talkie movie with a sprinkle of action.
Yeah.
So lots of walking and then lots of talking.
Mm-hmm.
And then some more walking.
Yeah.
And then some more talking inside a cave.
Yeah.
And then some walking. Oh, I missed a bit more walking. Yes. But with a sprinkle of action in there. It is a very slow movie. And I don't think this friend of mine would particularly be keen on watching this. Yeah. And I'd actually forgotten. My mind has condensed it down to the action sections.
Uh-huh.
And even trimmed lots of those down, because as you say, some of the action scenes do indeed go for a very long time. And scarily so. I do wonder how many people they maimed, injured, and otherwise dismembered during the filming of certain segments of that. It looked more chaotic than choreographed in a lot of places. People falling on top of one another from great heights. The joys of being a stuntman, I guess. Yeah. Jerry Goldsmith.
Right.
That was quite a soundtrack from Jerry. And I was thinking, because I did recall when I watched it, probably 5 to 10 years ago, being a bit stunned by the fact that this was Jerry Goldsmith. And I thought this time around, it really must be one of his first works back in 1968. But No, he was going a good 10 years before this. But there are certain bits of it that do have a familiar Jerry Goldsmith clang to it. The odd percussive beating on kitchen utensils type of sound to it. But it doesn't immediately scream Jerry Goldsmith. It's sort of more experimental and...
On a similar note, I haven't actually watched a lot of Twilight Zone, but boy, is this ever a Rod Serling piece.
Absolutely. It is, in a lot of ways, a expanded Twilight Zone episode. Mm-hmm. It just ticks all the boxes of a Twilight Zone story, but just expanded.
A guy ends up in a situation which he thinks is one thing, but actually it is another thing, and that other thing reveals something about the man.
Yes, the weird Twilight Zone twist. It was based on a French novel, though, but I certainly haven't read it. My French is fairly poor, and yet I do believe that Rod well and truly put his stamp on it. Yeah. What else did I write? Oh, who designed the escape hatch? Well, I mean, I know that the plan wasn't to crash and crash into water, but really, you don't design the egress of a spacecraft to be that convoluted, do you?
In the cone behind several hatches.
I just don't understand.
They did have a perfectly serviceable door to one side. Unfortunately, it was where the water was coming in from.
Yeah, but making the secondary exit such a convoluted, almost non-exit is probably putting lives at risk. Yeah.
The film immediately kills its first female character without any lines.
Yeah. And there's a whole story behind the dead body that I can't remember, so I will not try to relate, but it's well worth reading as to the use of masks and it having not quite the desired effect that they wanted. Yeah, look it up.
It's always a wonder when you go to the Wikipedia article for a film and... all three of the other crew members, who all die or are as good as dead, they are the only ones in this fairly reasonable cast list who do not have links to their names.
Oh. Well, I think it might have been Charlton Heston's teeth that actually sucked the links out of those names and drew them into Charlton Heston's name instead. Because he certainly showed those choppers all through that film. Even when he's chomping on a cigar inside the cockpit of a spaceship that's possibly questionable to be smoking in.
Well, it was a different time.
It was a different time. It was in the far future of 1972, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry. Ah, dear. And the only other note that I have is the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil.
Yeah.
That was very subtle.
Yeah, this film has a lot of things, but I would not quite describe it as subtle.
Has it put all the other modern stories into context, though?
No, because I have looked ahead and it doesn't quite line up.
What, you tried to make sense of the plot synopsis sizes of the next, was it three more?
Films?
Oh, there's 4 more.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My mind is blanking out one of them, I think.
Spoiler alert for films that are still decades old. The 2 scientists who we are on good terms with go back to the 20th century.
Spoiler alert, yes. Indeed.
That's the premise of the 3rd film.
Indeed.
And the story develops from there.
Yeah, there is a bit of a divergence there in backstory, forward story, left story, right story. Well, Well, do you have anything else you wish to say about Apes and the planets thereof?
I have now seen the ending of Planet of the Apes in context.
Good. Now, I think we made mention of the darn you all to heck, but couldn't identify it until later.
If we didn't mention it, we're mentioning it now, and it was Madagascar.
It was.
Yeah.
That is certainly the most recent reinterpretation of it that I've seen fairly recently. Mm-hmm. And I think I only saw that bit. I haven't watched the full Madagascar film for many, many years, but for some reason I saw that scene.
Yeah. They don't blow up the emergency beacon, they just burn it down.
The prosthetics.
Yep.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that they're prosthetics.
Oh, yeah.
But the amount of expression they were getting out of those faces, really, really amazing work. It's worth watching this film just for that alone.
Yep.
Just a whole gamut of expressions that you wouldn't think you'd be able to pull off in such a chunky, bulky, possibly not as flexible as you would like facial mask. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
And I do recommend, if you get the chance, to watch this film.
Yeah, it's solid, if not as tight as it could be.
Yeah. All right then. Well, we shall move on then.
The following segment has no title. Thank you.
And we will start in the not too distant past, over on YouTube, with Dunkel.
Hi, Dunkel. Good to see you, Dunkel.
Who, as well as presenting 3 guesses for 3 past episodes, which are all wrong.
Yes.
Asteroid City was not Meteor.
No, I like it though.
Swery would have been a lot earlier. These are listed here in our document in reverse chronological order, but I don't think the episodes were consumed in that same order. It's weird. Swery for Weird Al because of Fargo.
Yes. Yep.
And Condor was not for 3 Days of the Condor.
No.
I can't remember exactly what any of those were, but it wasn't those.
No.
Dunkel also says on Asteroid City, things going fast at the Earth are meteors, not asteroids necessarily. So that segue only works as a callback joke that only I got, not even the hosts. Not that you would have remembered anything I'm talking about.
No.
I didn't recognise any actors in this movie. It is my favourite Wes Anderson movie. I have never seen any other Wes Anderson movie.
Fair enough.
Category theory gives us the tools to compare apples to oranges, and maybe justify every tangent here. Oh, and also...
I went a little bananas reading that. Sorry.
And also notes a guess of Capone for Capricorn 1 or dang it.
Oh. Yep.
Yeah.
You did good, but yes. Past you would have done gooder if you'd gone back a little further or something. Wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
And then we scroll down to Facebook with Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
On our episode of Galaxy Quest. Galaxy Quest is awesome. It is also a remake of The Three Amigos, which I didn't realise until I marathoned them a couple of years ago.
I did not make the connection either.
I haven't seen The Three Amigos, so...
I did have a look to see whether it's streaming anywhere, and it isn't. I mean, unless you pay money, and I'm not going to do that. However, do go on, Jeff.
I dare you to watch them back to back and not feel like you just watched the same movie twice, despite the extreme differences in trappings. And just to be clear, they are my 2, or is it 1, of my favourite movies.
Well, if it does pop up on the streaming services, I have marked it in our Just Watch app to ring a bell if it pops up.
And finally, on a actually talking about last episode note...
Yes.
This is M on
Twitter. Hi, M!
Admittedly, I only realised my guess was 7 characters, so that would be last
right.
two episodes ago guessing for... Yeah.
They're both identically different except the other one.
Yes. I have forgotten where I was in this paragraph.
You'd only just started it.
Admittedly, I only realised my guess was 7 characters right after posting my contribution last week. I was too anxious to fix it.
I can relate.
Never had bacon on hot dogs as a combination either, but it probably isn't too bad. What about peanut butter and popcorn?
Oh, actually, I have got close, I guess. No, that's more caramelised. Lollygobble bliss bombs.
Right.
I don't know. Did they have peanuts in them? Can't remember.
Never had them.
No.
Rio has been a long-time favourite film of mine, but I get where Colin is coming from. I've never seen Happy Feet, though. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Don't do it. No, I would be curious to. I mean, it did win an Academy Award, didn't it? For Best Animated Film.
Oh, it was probably
so the
at
Academy,
least nominated.
The Academy lapped it up. I mean, it was certainly nominated, yes, but I just got this feeling it did win.
It was nominated, only nominated, for Best Original Song.
Oh, okay.
For that song that you don't like.
Hang on, what are we talking about? Rio or
Rio.
Happy Feet?
Rio.
No, I was asking about Happy Feet.
Oh, you were asking about... I was
Yeah.
thinking about... okay.
No. Happy Feet.
No, not Happy Heeft.
Happy
Happy Heeft.
Feet.
Happy Feet.
Yes.
Thank you. It received the first BAFTA Award for Best Animated Film, and did indeed win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature.
Well, you know, winning an Academy Award does not necessarily mean something is great, is all I'm going to say here.
It also lost an Annie Award and a Saturn Award to Cars.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what to do with that information.
You don't have to do anything with that information.
Okay, so instead we shall move on with the rest of M's comment.
Re-listened to the Rubber podcast. Even besides the film choice, it's a very weird episode, but in a good way.
On my trip to the exotic island, I took Rubber with me to try and convince my friend that we should sit down and watch that. But
it didn't work, did it?
It didn't.
No.
He sort of wasn't in the let's watch movies kind of mode. So we played a large tabletop Star Trek ship battle simulator instead. Yeah, so that was fun.
The Rio 2 episode still haunts me, partially because I was the one who suggested the film in the first place.
If it's any consolation, I cannot for the life of me remember what I even said about Rio 2. But I do get the feeling.
I suspect you didn't like it.
I possibly didn't, no.
Which will bring us up to the guess.
Yes, the guess. And Thomas is now noticing that the text that I had, that he had entered for...
Oh, because I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't particularly matter, for reasons that will become clear in a moment.
It will, yes.
Our guess is from M, who goes with Litbittelungel.
Litbittelungel.
LTBTLNGL, which is wrong.
It is.
It's a reasonable guess based on, all previous evidence, but no, it was Alita BA.
It was. As opposed to lettuce, tomato, bacon, tomato, lettuce.
Anchovies.
Anchovies, guacamole, and more lettuce.
Why have you put so much lettuce on the sandwich?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I am blaming you specifically, Colin, for this much lettuce.
Yes, it's my fault. Thank you, though, Em, for giving us a little chuckle about lettuce. But let us move on. No.
If you have any comments or film suggestions or want to guess what up to 8 alphanumeric or also underscore file name has been provided for tonight's film, Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
1968.
Good luck with that. I'm just showing Thomas what I have entered for the
Okay, that's plausible.
It is.
That could be got.
It could.
It probably won't, but it could be got.
I will give you a hint. There is one bit of lettuce in it.
Yes.
Yes. Good.
Yes. You will have to take at least one L.
And there's even some anchovies.
Yeah. So yes, any of that in all of the usual places. And preferably none of the unusual places.
No.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. And without any further ado, we bid you adieu. No, I guess we'd better have that final segment.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed. It's your turn.
It is my turn. And I'm just going to shake the old phone and see what it comes up with for me. So,
What did I just open?
I don't know what you just opened. I'm shaking the phone. Do I want that one? Yeah, we can go for that one.
Oh, let's go to Camelot.
Okay, this movie came out in 1986.
And
I'm just going to start off with a plot synopsis here.
Okay.
All right, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. When a small Mexican village is terrorized by a notorious outlaw, a desperate señorita calls upon the only heroes she knows. Known by all as fearless freedom fighters, these courageous cowboys are really just film stars, and the only fighting they've ever done is on a movie set. But when the outlaws attack, these three people discover that the banditos and their bullets are all too real. Now the trio must save the village and become true heroes, or hang up their spurs in shame forever.
Right. So far, so familiar.
Why? What's it familiar from?
No, I don't know this film.
You don't?
I do not recall this film.
No, you have not seen it.
No.
No. But it has actually been mentioned in the podcast already.
Oh.
That's right, Jeff. If you're listening, I managed to get my hands on a second-hand copy of The Three Amigos.
Well, that paid off quickly.
Well, I had 2 weeks, so it worked very well.
Yeah.
So, Three Amigos. That's what we're watching, which is why.
I was like, no, this guy wouldn't, like, just bald-faced lie to me, would he? He's
my father. Yeah. Okay.
Terrible.
You're a monster. Next week, The Three Amigos. We hope that you can join us, but until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us, in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
Hold on, I've got to pull up a quote. Do you really think someone would do that? Just go on a podcast and tell lies?
That's a quote.
I've paraphrased it slightly.
Oh, have you?
It's a quote from Arthur.
Right.
The actual quote is, you really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies.
Which Arthur are we talking about?
We are talking about the animated one with the animals in it.
Say, hey.
Yes, that's the one.
What a wonderful kind of day.
Yep.
And we learn to work and play.
and get along with each other.
Get along with each
Which
other.
is very difficult when people will just go on the internet and tell lies.
Oh, well. Ain't I a stinker?
Yes.
I'm stopping. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, how many pecks of pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick?
7. He picked 7.
Well done. Thomas, your choice of subject is Peter Piper and his pickled peppers. Your question starts now. Okay.
I've started, so I'll finish.
So I'll finish, yes. So what did you think?
Pass.